time for another Todd and Colton rant.
That's what we're good at.
So yeah, so much has happened again in another week. I can't even, and Colton beat me to it, but I was like, I got to talk about this too. So please come on and let's talk about it, because he's got such a great take on this new bit of news where DJI has the nerve, the gall, to sue Insta360 for copying a camera. So let's get into this. So Colton, first of all, how did this? Let's just do this in bits. What started here? How did this get off the ground? What's happening?
I think this was like, well, when did Insta360 launch? So apparently DJI dropped a lawsuit the day that Insta360 started selling their cameras in the United States. They dropped a lawsuit against 2 different patent infringements, and I have kind of studied this case mildly, but please don't like roast me. I'm not 100%. And I also disclaimered my video on like, I'm not a patent lawyer. I'm just a nerd on YouTube that likes cameras. So like,
Same.
Feel free to chime in what I get wrong. But the report was that DJI has been working on this lawsuit since Insta360 teased the Luna Ultra at NAB.
I was totally going to guess that. Like, they had this queued up, waiting.
Right.
Yeah.
And it almost kind of fits like my tinfoil hat theories of like, they've kind of been behind the ball since NAB. They didn't bring their Pocket 4s to NAB, and they've kind of botched a couple of these releases. And so my head goes like, were you spending more time with your lawyers trying to like figure out how you were going to drop this lawsuit versus actually doing a good job with your customer base and your products? But so Insta360 went on sale late last week. We were kind of messaging offline back and forth about it. I mean, you literally went the day it dropped and you bought it.
Yeah.
Same time, DJI dropped a patent lawsuit. I believe they filed it in Texas, which is also kind of a funny, like everybody in the comment section on my video was like, Texas, really? For 2 Chinese companies to fight it out? Okay,
right.
Cool.
Cool choice.
So they dropped this. Yeah. So they dropped this. There's 2 different patent infringements, I believe, that DJI was going after. One was a physical patent infringement, so the cameras look too similar together. The other was in how they operate.
Yeah.
Now I had like so many questions about that, because I look at the Ultra and I look at my Pocket 3. I don't own the Ultra, you do, so this is a fun little like let's talk about it. The last Pocket camera I bought was the Pocket 3. I loved that camera, and I was waiting to spend my money. We've talked about this on a new one.
Yep.
I don't see a huge similarity, other than I guess my question is like, at where do you draw the line between a carbon copy and like you put a record button on the handle, because that's where you'd put a record, like you wouldn't put it on the top of the camera, you'd put it on the handle that you're holding, right? So that's where I'm just like, they look different. Somebody in my comment section said, well, the whole flip out screen is exactly like DJI. To that, I would just argue to anyone here or anyone in my comments, then Sidekick should be suing both of these companies. Do you remember that phone?
Yeah.
The Sidekick?
Yeah.
That had the original flippy screen. Sidekick, come back and sue everybody, please.
I just think, well, and I'm on both sides of the fence on that particular piece. I think form factor wise, if you're going to make one of these, it's going to be hard to deviate, right? I mean, it's going to be hard. But that flip screen thing, which I still get a smile every time I pop open the Pocket 3. It's like a little bit of magic trick where you go, and the thing got it all and sits up. And I'm like, that's so cool. And this does the exact same action. You know, it might have been better if there was like a physical on-off switch or something. I don't know, but just to avoid that. But it's still a little bit. But it's the operation is so similar. I could see where they would have a concern. Like they have, the interface works the same. You know, swipe down to get to settings, swipe up to go to set your frame rates, swipe to the side to see what you've shot. Like every action, it's like if you're like I was, as you know, a devout DJI ecosystem guy. I was like, oh, this is easy. I've done all of this before. So but when I went over to DJI, when I got the because I think that DJI Action 3, I've been a DJI fan. Outside of drones, that's the first camera that I've actually invested money in. I didn't have any of their action cameras. But to me,
operating the Pocket 3's system, I went, oh, this is just GoPro's operating system.
Fair
Swipe
enough.
over to get your settings, swipe the other way to get your playlist. Like, and same thing. I went, oh, this feels very normal. So that's where I'm just like, what is patented, what is not? And as I'm, cursory study of their patents, it's going to be a long fight, I think, between the two of them. And where I saw, and like what I fully believe in, where I was kind of like on everybody's side on my comment section, is like, patent law should 100% be a thing. Like, I think that's why we have such great innovation. I mean, especially in the States, because if you're going to drop hundreds of thousands of dollars into R&D, millions of dollars into R&D outside of our camera space, right? Like medical, engineering, like if you're going to drop a lot of money into pioneering new technology, you should be able to protect that and go after people that infringe upon that. So I'm 100% for that. I've also seen, I'll bring you and you can chime in on this, the like negative side to that is red in my mind.
Yeah.
And I brought this up in my comments a couple of times, which is, I love Red Cinema. I thought that they, going from an Oakley sunglass company to starting this like completely transformative camera company in the early 2010s, incredible innovation. They were the first camera company that kind of figured out how to get a compressed version of RAW that they called Red RAW into their cameras. It made it a cinema camera that was shooting at, bit rates that could actually be used in a cinema style.
Right.
But they patented that and then spent the next 10 years suing anybody that put any form, like their patent literally was like compressed RAW. And remember how many times, like the Blackmagic Pocket camera had to take out Cinema DNG from their Pocket 4K that they came out with because of these lawsuits. Yeah. And so did that help the camera industry as a whole move forward? That's the hard part, is like Red at that point kind of became the lawsuit company, not the innovator. Like I love their cameras, but every camera after that kind of became the secondary monetary vehicle to protecting their compressed RAW patents. And it just finally kind of got defeated or phased out in these new cameras. That's why we now see everybody with their own flavor. You've got Canon RAW, you've got Nikon RAW, you've got all these different flavors of RAW, because that was kind of a silly patent to begin with. So I see both sides. I'm fully on board with, like, we should be protecting patents. It's one of the things that makes the states is that we have patent law. But what do you think?
Well, I was going to say it's tricky, though. I think in this particular case, because we always, if you watch camera reviews, and it's one thing, it's like once you get into a camera ecosystem, like if you're a Sony guy, if you're a Canon guy, if you're a Panasonic guy, and you start getting into the user interface, it's a completely different experience. And it's like, oh man, I can't find anything, and so they are uniquely their own. Because I saw someone in your comments say like, well, when's a camera not a camera? It's like, yeah, it's still going to have a shutter, it's still going to have a lens, it's going to have a lot of physical characteristics that are similar. And I think DJI puts themselves in an unfortunate position of creating a space. How else do you make a pocket gimbal? I mean, this is the design. And so just like how else do you make a film camera? It's going to have the lens here. It's going to have the film enters here. Like they all are the same at an elemental level. But as you get into that user experience, and I think where they may have some legs, because like I said, that's the part where you're like, boy, it's very similar. I think I'm going to have a couple things I want to talk about, but I find it wildly ironic. And again, this is not that I am not a, what's the word, where I'm like a go America, only America kind of guy or anything like that. But China has zero copyright laws within the borders of China. One of your commenters said, like, I'm here in Hong Kong and there's no problem. Everybody's happily selling cameras. China has notorious. A friend of mine used to work, and I won't say the name of the company, very large, Fortune 500 company. He was like a health and safety guy, and he would go to China all the time. And he's like, it'd be unbelievable. You go to a store and it's just totally copied versions of Microsoft Office or whatever at the time. $1,000 packages you could just pick up for $50. China does not care about this in the least, which tells me how important the U.S. market is to DJI at this point. Because otherwise, they have the whole world where they don't care. They only care about what's happening right here today. And it's interesting because I think they only care what's happening right here today because they got punked. This camera leapfrogged their tech. Like, we've all seen what the 4P is supposed to do, what it's supposed to look like, and I do not see a detachable remote. I do not see the 6X lossless that works unbelievable, which I'll have a review and we'll probably talk about on Colton show later this week.
Yeah.
They have leapfrogged them. The microphone tech. You know how we were talking about, I bought one of their little mics to go with it.
Yeah.
And how you could set it for, it'll be a shotgun mic. It can be a figure 8 configuration. It can be a wide. This camera does that too. You can set it up to pick up front and back, ignore the sides. You can have it be a cardioid or whatever only.
Yep.
Like DJI didn't do that either. Like, DJI got a little bit caught with the pants down. And so their only recourse was the American way. Sue.
Yep.
So it's very funny and ironic that these two Chinese companies are fighting over something that they can't fight about in their own country.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I know very little about, so I haven't studied this yet, but literally like the day after, Insta360 countersued to kind of protect what they said they have 5 claims against on their patents as well. So I know nothing more than that. So that would have to be, the team, the comment team would have to be researching that for us. But it is just like, it's not just one company punching at the other one. Like, they're both exchanging blows and trying to figure this out. And I mean, it's an interesting tactic, and I think we both agree, patent law and patent protection is fundamentally kind of what makes the United States the United States.
Yep.
I'm all for protecting your IP, but it'll just be interesting. I fear, because like DJI wants a full injunction of the Insta360 Luna Ultra. They want it totally. They want damages. They want additional damages, and they want an injunction, which just means, if it goes through, then the Ultra will not be for sale in the United States anymore. They wouldn't be able to sell it, which would be, But if that is the case, then it's like, well, that's what kind of precedence does that set for the next couple of cameras? It's interesting.
Yeah, they're creating a very problematic. It's unfortunate, but it's like, why not just spend your time and be better? Like, you got caught. You already own a huge space. Like, Insta has been working very hard and paying a lot of Insta or YouTuber shills to push that Ace Pro, and I wasn't all that impressed with it. I haven't used one, but I was like, I don't feel a need to run out and get that. It's maybe a better Action 6. I can't tell.
Yeah. So with that, the Ace Pro 2 has some cool stuff. It's like, it's all a GoPro to me. They've kind of GoPro still is the innovator in that space. Yeah. But there was a comment I was responding to on my video earlier today where, like, the funny thing is, can you build me one perfect action camera? Because what I would love is the flip out screen that the Ace Pro 2 has, which is really a cool screen. Like, when you're mounting it somewhere and you want to be able to kind of flip it up so you can see what you're filming.
Sure. Killer.
That was a great innovation that only Insta360 did. And then DJI had that variable aperture in the Action 6, which is just, I think, such a cool innovation for action cameras that you need to be able to adjust, especially with more and more selling of, like, you can take this into low light. You can be indoors with this. It doesn't have to just be an outdoor action camera. I thought the variable aperture on the Action 6, so cool. Can you just build me one camera with a flip out screen and the Action 6 variable? And then I was like, we'll be right back here. They'll sue each other for those things. And we'll be talking about that in 6 months, which would be hilarious.
They'll definitely, that fight is, I'm certain, happening, because Insta has gone aggressively into the space, and unfortunately, DJI's just gonna have to work now. Muse or Extra, Extra has one advantage, and that may be what they're hoping for to put this injunction, is that everybody's going to go back to the not DJI company to buy the not DJI products that are exactly DJI products. That may be the move, you know, because I was like, well, what are creators going to do at this point? If GoPro goes out of business, DJIs can't sell here, Insta gets slammed, all that's left now is Extra. Extra. So that tricky space.
Well, I was going to say the 3D chess move, again, not a lawyer. I'm not advising either one of these companies as to what to do. But if I was Insta360, I would want to be asking a lot of questions as to why DJI is suing them for patent infringement and not this other Delaware associated company that seems to be exactly the same operating system, features, everything. And I don't know the corporate structure of Extra to the T, but like I would be asking a whole lot of questions on that, because if you're suing one and you're not suing the other, doesn't that just basically admit to all of us you have a working relationship with Extra, that you are it's unnecessary to sue them? And at that point, if you've admitted that, why are they not banned but the DJI models are? It's just a weird thing. I would push for that.
Well, I think, you're 100% right. You make a wonderful point. And I think what we found is what I said before. The Chinese have figured out what the Americans do best, and that is litigate. Because that being a Delaware corporation, and they have certain protections now as a United States company, they'll be like, well, no, this is going to be very difficult for you to sue us now or to shut it down. So their whole goal is like, you can't shut us down because we have these protections over here. So we're just going to focus over here, take them down, and we don't care, you know. And of course, they always have AliExpress as a sales tool. You know, that was the interesting legal bit that someone pointed out, and I don't know if we've talked about it, but you have the right as a United States citizen to purchase one of these quote-unquote banned products. It's not like you're getting heroin or something. You know, you're allowed to purchase that and have it sent to you for your use. You're just not allowed to be a retailer and resell them. So I can go buy everything. I can go buy the DJI products all I want, the drones, whatever, through AliExpress or any of the other Chinese companies, Shein, or I don't know, all the ones you can get on your phone, and you're allowed to buy them and own them. I can go to Canada and bring them home. It's just it's a weird law. I don't understand why that's okay, but Best Buy can't sell it. I still don't get that. Doesn't work in my head, but whatever. So it's
I don't know the ins and outs of the covered list. My understanding of it was, though, that if you, like, customs will hold that up, so you can buy it, but you may never get it from customs, was my understanding. You can go to Canada, but if customs sees that you are transporting something that's on the covered list, they have the right to seize that and not let you across the border. The other thing that I had heard, which I'm not jumping across the border with any regularity for these products, but the other issue is, if you do that, you can get a Pocket 4 or a Pocket 4 Pro, whatever. But if you need to service that, and you went to Canada and you come back to the United States, another commenter had mentioned this, and I think it's like the most important kind of thing to keep in mind. If you have a U.S. address, they're not going to fix that product for you. They're not going to. There's no avenue to get that product into a factory to fix it and then back to you. So you are buying that product as is right now. That's it. Hope the screen doesn't break. Hope the lens doesn't need to be replaced. Hope there's no. I mean, I had to send my Sony FX3 in because the whole motherboard of the camera, not the sensor, but the motherboard fried. And so I had to send that in. And that's a common, that happens to cameras, that you have just issues, electronic issues that need to be replaced and fixed. And Sony was great with that. I sent it in. It was out of commission for a couple of days. They gave me a loaner camera while they were fixing mine. But I just think of that, how stuck I was in feeling like, oh shoot, I got to give my camera up for a couple of days, ship this back.
Yeah.
If you are out of luck here, you know, that's a scary place to be. And when it's a couple $100, fine. But these, you know, the Luna's 700. I think the DJI just dropped their pricing and their specs in China. It's going to be comparable, if not a little bit more than the Luna. When you're up in that price range, almost $1,000 for that, I would want to make sure I could get it serviced.
No, that's a very valid point. I mean, you have to have throwaway money at that point. I bought the $40 plan to go with it to get you 2 low cost replacements. I still don't know what that means, but I like the idea of like, okay, because you know, gimbal systems, that's the part that I think everybody's nervous about on these cameras. I have yet to have had a problem with the Pocket 3. I saw Matty Hapoya actually run his through water by accident, you know, splashed it all over and got it in, and it did fine. So I don't know. I feel like they built these to be a little bit robust, knowing how the use case is for them. But still, that is the failure point. It's the whole point of the camera, right? Is that gimbal. Yeah. So I thought for $40 for a year, it's worth it, because the way we're going, in a year, there's going to be 5 more cameras by then. So
right. Well, and that's the other comment that somebody pointed out on my video, which I like. They're right. Is we are, as much as we are a litigious country, we are also a very slow legal process country. By the time this thing gets figured out in court and argued and heard and then appealed and then heard again, and we're going to be on the Luna Ultra 2. So it's a little bit of kind of an educational study for everybody, but like that's how these things draw out. And at that point, you know, what's to say Insta360 doesn't already have the 2, and they go, all right, we're just going to sell this one, and it's different enough, it doesn't infringe on your patents. And go figure it out, DJI.
To that end, you made a supposition, I suppose would be the word, on your channel about the fact that DJI maybe have done this to kind of put pause in people's mind, but with the way this goes, I don't know that it will. What makes you think that? You know, elaborate on that, I guess.
Well, I think anytime. So I can give you the pro and the con, and I can also kind of tell you at least through my comment system, because I think we're at like 400 comments so far on this video.
You're killing it with that video.
And honestly, too, I put this out. I stayed up almost all night Friday editing it, because I thought, okay, the news broke on Friday. If I get this out by Monday, it's like nobody's going to care. We covered the Luna Ultra launch on our channel. I posted a clip on that on my channel, and it got like 50 views. And I was like, oh, well, nobody really cares, I guess. So this next video is definitely not going to do well, and it's done really well. But I think here's the reason why it should give people pause. If you say DJI is fully successful, they get a full injunction of the product, I don't know, but does that mean you have to then cease support for the product? In other words, you paid for 2 years. In 6 months, if they get a full injunction, does that mean, sorry, we can't service your product? We can't serve that in the United States anymore. Does it then also mean you can't supply firmware updates or software updates? Like, I don't know what a full injunction of that product would be, but I think where I kind of said, you know, it is a strategic tool. Lawsuits can be a strategic tool to give people pause. Is that enough pause to make you go, maybe I should hold off and see how this goes? Obviously, it didn't for you. I think a lot of other people felt the same way, that they will, like, they like the product. They're tired of waiting. I think in a complementary fashion of Insta360 did a great job getting this out. DJI did a really bad job of getting out any information about, and not even like, granted, we are both very biased because we're both in the United States and we're dealing with United States marketing. But even people that have commented and you know, said things that are not in the States have issued the same kind of complaints that DJI, where is the Pocket 4 Pro? Right. Where is the information about it? They in my complaint,
they had that whole launch in Cannes, right? Like
a launch? Yeah.
Well, but I mean, you know, it was in people's hands, and we all thought it's right around the corner. Like, this is it. It's coming. And
well, to that end, though, they did a great job before the Cannes launch of an Instagram post. It had this like very Apple-esque silhouette. it's coming this date, this time, this is the launch. And then the Instagram channel, blank. The stories, blank. The YouTube channel, blank. No stream, no production, no information, no news press. So to that, like, if you're going to soft launch this with 20 men in a room, great. But like, you don't have to put that on your Instagram, because the rest of the world is going to go, where is it? And even now it's like, okay, it's coming. We pushed it back a little bit. Like, there's no launch date. The influencers that have the camera don't know when it's coming. I mean, they did the same thing to Insta360. You know, we covered that on the channel. Philip Bloom, who I follow for years, was reviewing the camera, and he thought the B&H listing was a joke for Insta360 because he was like, I asked them yesterday and they said, we got no information for you. And then they dropped the camera the next day. So, you know, that
it makes you curious. And it's like the tinfoil hat time comes out now, right? Because I begin to wonder, knowing, look, we know also how much corporate spying is going on. And it almost makes you wonder, did Insta360 already have, were they working on the 2-camera system before DJI? And DJI has been trying to get caught up and hasn't got there yet. And because this product is rock solid, ready to go, and it does all the things they said. DJI has said it's going to do these things, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it do anything yet. And it's almost, I wonder if it's all just a big, no, they're copying us, where it's like, are they, or did they just beat you?
Yeah. It's confusing all the way around. I don't think, like, I wouldn't give either of these two companies mad props for figuring out how to get 2 cameras in a gimbal, because I will point you to my iPhone.
You're 100% right. Phones have been doing it for years. Yeah.
We got 3, and I'm sure there are plenty of Android phones that have that as well. The Mavic Pros have had dual cameras on them for years. And I will say Insta360 has been known for 360 cameras. They had dual lenses since they came out with everything.
Good point.
So the idea that like, well, it's tough to figure out, like, maybe, and they both obviously have been working on it, because, and I would say the same way that I argued, 2 months ago, that the GoPro Mission 1, their base Mission 1, was only a direct response to where the market was. Like, if you look at those Mission 1 stats, they're incrementally better than the Ace Pro 2 and the DJI Action 6. But they had to do that to be competitive in the market. If they would have done less than that, there'd be no reason to go spend $599 on a GoPro Mission 1. The same way everybody is carrying around these in their pockets. You have 3 lenses on here. You have a wide, you have a normal, and you have a telephoto, and they do great pictures and video with them. So if you are going to carry around another thing other than your phone, that was like the next normal iteration of this product.
Had to happen, yeah.
In my opinion,
you make an excellent point. Brent, who you've met on my channel, he has one of those Mavics that's a 3-camera system.
Exactly.
It's incredible. I remember the first time he brought that out and we were on a shoot, and we were, 10 miles outside of Cleveland, and he flew it up and like zoomed in almost onto a building, and I'm like, holy cow, this is spyware level stuff. And so this is just really just the system that would be on the front of a drone. So you make a very good point. Like, this has been around for a while, and DJI has had that tech. I wonder what took them so long to do it, And going back to why I don't think I'm alone in this. Like, I am a creator for customers who are sort of local businesses, smaller businesses. Most of the work I do is going to be, now some of it's for television, but low delivery level television, like that PBS channel I shoot video for the radio station. We deliver 1080p. Everything else is web, it's social media, and so that the use of a big gimbal sometimes gets to be, well, I didn't know I had an option. Let's start there. And it gets to be a pain. Like, it's like, oh man, when you run a gimbal for the day, if anybody has done that, your mid back is killing you. There's just something about that position of like holding this thing and you're like, oh my, you're just fried. When I could do this with the Pocket 3, I was like, this is outrageously cool. And my only thing was like, man, if I could just get a little bit closer, if I could get like a 50 mil or a 75 mil on that, I don't think I'd ever use the big gimbal again. And so when this became an option, I was like, oh, I totally want that, because there's a lot of problems. One of the problems with like my bigger gimbal is, how it is. It takes forever to balance one correctly. And then if you change anything, everything's out. And for some reason, even if you get it balanced perfectly, midway through the day, it starts to drift. And you're like, oh my God, I got to start all over again. These little ones never lose that. You set it and forget it, like Ron Popeil on those commercials. But like you set it, and you could say like, just keep horizon, and it just all day works perfectly. And so, when this was a thing, I couldn't wait. I was chomping at the bit, like, somebody please put that camera out. And I was like, I don't care who beats whoever. I would prefer if it was DJI, but I don't know what they're doing. And Insta makes a solid product, and right now, like we talked about, in this country, I don't probably have support for a DJI product. So I was like, I might be an Insta guy now. Like, I like the other thing like Insta does with their 360 cam. Like, I love my DJI in 360, but replaceable lenses is kind of almost necessary, the way they bubble. And so, I jumped right on it. We'll see what the future has to hold, but this was, I think, an important innovation for smaller creators like me, who this is going to satisfy their customers, make my life easier, and also make my YouTube channel easier to run. So, I don't know.
You have easier delivery, and you have smoother stuff. I mean, I think always on a gimbal, to me, like to your point, you're not necessarily, unless you're trying to get some really crazy, like Josh Yo style parallax stuff with the 200 millimeter on a one wheel with a gimbal. Like, normally you're trying to go for a wider look, a deeper depth of field anyway. So these 1-inch sensors, it's like a perfect marriage of that. That's what we all kind of need anyway, as long as the resolution holds up, as long as the color science holds up. So I'm interested because you obviously have this. This is theoretical in my mind because I didn't buy either one of these. I'm not excited to buy either one of these. You did. So, I mean, tell me about that experience, and we can talk more on my show, later. But I'm just interested in, like, what sold you on it? What are you loving right now? Because every time you get that new camera, there's something.
Well, everything that I was hoping it would do, it does, and it does it very well. So we talked about it. Like, my first day with it, I went, and I'm going to have a review on this channel later and kind of show some of the footage. The radio station I work at, they we had a band in, and I was like, oh, I'm going to try this out, for my camera shot. And I was showing it to the other camera guys, and they were like, awesome, let's see what it does. People talk about noise a little bit, but like, the blacks are black. Like, you got to go in and set the settings. I set the ISO, I think, to 100 on it. But then I just did, it was still brand new. I didn't know how to do much. And it was sort of auto color, auto white balance. But we're in a studio environment with black curtains, lighting on them. It's a low light environment technically, but the band is very well lit. And the shots look crispy, and I played around with like going to 3x, which I think is going to be my preferred. I'll use that all the time. That's just the secondary lens working as it should, and I think it's a 60 mil equivalent. You can see the pores of their skin. Like, I mean, it is just what you want. Everything is just right. The light, the color balance, color science is perfect, and for my use case. But then the detachable screen, which I thought was going to be a total gimmick, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
It was mind-bending, because I was like, I put the gimbal on one of these Ulanzi tripods, and I said, okay, pop the screen off. And I'm sitting there lazily using it as a PTZ cam for my shots. And I'm like, I texted you while I was doing it. I was like,
Yeah.
This is not just a gimmick. This is a game changer. Like, I could sit here, set up my shot, and just let it roll, and then, the basis is doing something. Move the joystick, let it roll. I want to zoom in on that guy. Zoom in. All while just sitting there. It was truly like a PTZ experience. The joystick movement is herky-jerky. That could be me. It might be the system. It is a very small joystick. It's not like when you're using a true PTZ camera and you've got a nice joystick. Like, those are fun to operate. There's hard to get subtle movements on that little thumb pad. But so far, that was outrageously good. And so then I did it handheld to try the gimbal movement. The gimbal movement is as good as the DJI. I was running into some issues where it was like I couldn't get it to, and it's probably a setting for me, right? I couldn't get it to like move fast enough to where I wanted it to be. It was kind of like, but that's gimbals in general. Like, you're like, it was the first day, I haven't learned it, but like I kind of had to do a lot of recentering. Like, I want to recenter and get it back to where I want, and then I could do my movements from there. And then the files, the only thing I didn't like is the file broke, and like, not in a bad way. Like, it stopped at like 16 minutes and 49 seconds and started a new one. I hate when they do that. I like a contiguous file. There was my old cameras that used to do that a few years back, there'd be like a drop for a frame or two, which was really annoying. This didn't do that. It smoothly went from one to the other, like a bunch to push them together in the timeline. I just hate it. I don't know. It's probably just an annoying thing. I don't know why I'm not sure why that's a thing. I think it might be a buffer, storage, cache, file write thing. I don't know. I mean, I was shooting 4K. They like 30 for TV, obviously. So we shot 4K 30. No, I take that back. He wanted 4K 24, which really surprised me because I've worked on that show before. I know we delivered at 29.97, so I don't know what you're doing, but whatever. That's your call. You're in charge. But we did 4K 24. But that's a lot of data. So for a little teeny tiny camera, so that's probably part of it. I don't know. I was very pleased with the overall performance right away. And then before today, before it starts raining here, I went out and shot some stuff around the yard and tried to play with some close focus. And I was like, man, it does some really neat things really well. And I like the tracking. I wish it could follow. I mean, I'm sure I'm asking for magic, but it picks you up. You go behind something, it might lose you for a second, and it finds you again. It's very good on its tracking. And it does a wonderful job of when you track on something and then you kind of want to pan around it and keep that in the center, it makes you look like, you're a genius. That's the thing, what we talked about before, crew size. Suddenly it looks like I've got a focus puller, and I'm just moving a gimbal, and it's doing everything on it, and it does it all for you. So it's nice for a single shooter to have, again, what we talked about before, the end product that poops out the back of that camera is all my customer cares about. They don't care the gear I'm using. They don't care what it looks like, as long as this product tells their story. And it does a really good job of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything else you want? Oh, the one question you wanted to know, which I was pleasantly surprised. You can plug a DJI mic system into the USB, and it goes external microphone, and it just immediately starts working. And
That's amazing.
It has the same green bar as if I attached the Insta mic. Like, it just like using an external mic. Here it is. Yep, you're connected. So you don't have to just use their mic system either if you don't want. It'd be clunky,
right?
Because there's not much room.
Bound by that little transmitter.
Yeah,
you're bound by that little transmitter.
So you'd have to put it on a stick at that point. Yep. But
at least they have an open USB-C protocol, because that drove me nuts, and I think we're finally getting away from that. But everybody had their own. You needed your own dongle. You needed your own media mod kit. You needed a transition dongle, whatever attachment to get from their proprietary USB-C into just open USB-C protocol. So I'm thrilled to see that. I actually gave GoPro a lot of props because I didn't realize that was something that hadn't really been mentioned at all until they kind of released the embargoes on these creators. They have a fully open USB-C protocol, and you haven't been able to test this yet, but I'm excited to see when you do.
Yeah.
The GoPros, you can plug a USB-C to HDMI cable in and get full HDMI out with that camera, which is, we've talked offline about it. That to me is a huge benefit for anybody running productions that are multicam that need to run something in to an ATEM or to a Rhodes video switcher. Like having a true HDMI out that I don't have, because you want to talk about getting big fast. Like all those USB-C webcam protocols to HDMI out boxes. Like I've seen those builds and they're very cool. You can get like wireless streaming from your Pocket 3 to an ATEM, but it takes like these big builds and an external battery to power the protocol converter. And it's like,
Sure.
Okay, well at that point, like I'll run my Ronin with my FX3. Like you're almost the same size at that point. You've defeated the purpose.
Yeah.
But a run and gun that can go HDMI out and you get a little Axoon converter and you can run wirelessly, you're shooting at a concert or something like that could be very cool if that stuff, if that works. It's pretty neat tech.
Yeah, I was going to say even small house productions, there's a lot of like, churches and schools where they're going like a PTZ system is, thousands and thousands of dollars. And if they could get 2 Lunas and a little switcher, you're in business if that were to work. Like I'm very curious. So the cable will arrive tomorrow. We'll talk about it on your show. Check out Colton's show on Thursday.
Yep, 2:30 on Thursday. We'll talk about it. We'll
see
break
if it's working.
The news there. Yeah. The other thing that wasn't mentioned at all, and I don't know if you got to test this, but it was like, oh, that's brilliant. Like that should have been thought of by all of these companies. Is the detachable screen also has a microphone in it, right? Have you tested that? Like that's so cool.
It is so cool. And again, I was thinking about that. I just did a little, like a social media bit for, again, the radio station. I don't know. I've had a lot of use case lately for them. I'm like working into like creating, they don't do any social media video content. They're a radio station. So they're like, oh, could you do this? So it's expanding. My point is I was using a DJI Pocket 3 and then, the mic and doing the interview on the street. If now all I have to take is this, what someone needs to come up with is like a little way to put branding on the back of it. So it would be the radio station's call letters on the back of it. But like you just do the question and it's, you see, you got your shot. Yep. If you're not in the center, you could set it up and then, you use it as a roving mic. Like I said, it is wild to me because I feel like they didn't miss a trick on it, even in so much as, now see, we were talking about the lawsuit, but now we're talking about just the fact that I love this camera now. So the gimbal protector is awesome, and it locks with a proper snap. But they thought of putting a little notch here so that when you plug it in, you can see the charge light. You don't have to, it's charging, like with it closed, and you can't see anything. Oh, charge light. That's just
smart.
phenomenal. Yeah, very smart. And when you tap on the screen, when it's charging, it'll give you a charge number for the gimbal and the remote. Like it displays it. You just tap on it and you can say, okay, we're almost done charging or whatever. So I can't think of anything that they, yeah, you've probably seen this. So the little thing that's like to attach, the little handle mount to attach.
I love this little bit.
They integrated a little tripod into it. Like I was like, what are these little weird wires on the bottom of it? And they put a tripod on the bottom. I don't have fingernails. They put a tripod on the bottom so that it can just stand on its own, and you don't need another tripod.
I was looking
mount.
for mine. Mine's over there. I got those little tripod feet for the DJI, but it's like you said, it's just one more thing you have to pack and remember. And like, it's brilliant that they integrated that in.
I can't think of anything they missed. And these 2 little buttons on the screen, which I didn't know what they were, you saw them, they're customizable. So, cool. I want this one to center it, or I want this one to set it so that the gimbal doesn't change. You can set it to a bunch of things, and I think you can even double click and triple click them so they have multiple use cases as customizable buttons. I can't think of anything they didn't do. And I think
I will give you my 2. I have 2. I have one that maybe could be done. We'll see. I don't know. Firmware could maybe do this. I might be the only use case for it. I have another one that probably can't. But I will jump back to the lawsuit for one moment to say they added that zoom, that rocker is a zoom rocker, right?
Yeah.
That's not on the DJI, which is where I'm like, okay, so you have a record button and you have a pan lock button, which to me feels like every gimbal out there, the Ronin, the Feiyutech, the Hoem, the Zhiyun, like they all have those buttons. I'm confused by how that is proprietary to DJI in the States. But that zoom rocker seems so much better of a use case. I love a little zoom rocker. It's professional.
100%.
Then I think DJI's does it with two little buttons up by the screen. But
the DJI one is the worst because you have to tap the screen to make it either be you tap the screen and it's not perfect every time to say, okay, I want it to work as a joystick, or tap it and I want it to zoom. It's clunky. It doesn't work well. This zoom rocker is a game changer.
But now that you're talking about your Pocket 3, right?
I am. Yeah.
They added 2 new buttons on the Pocket 4 and the 4 Pro, or 4P, whatever we're calling that. So those, I thought those were dedicated zoom buttons, but
I think one's a zoom button. I think one's a custom button.
So, but even then, like, are you toggling? And again, I don't have the camera. I don't know. I guess there are U.S. creators that have the Pocket 4P, but is it a toggle? Like, it doesn't work nearly as well as a rocker, which seems like, well, they're clearly not the same carbon copied, because Insta360 thought of a rocker switch, which just honestly makes more sense. DJI should have done it, but the rocker makes way more sense than a button that would toggle you through, or you'd hold it, or you have to do it through the screen. I've been trying to figure out how the 4P is going to even toggle between those lenses, and I hope it's more seamless than a button like that. So let me give you my 2. Oh, go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead, and I'll give you my 2.
I think the 4P one, is it's so on this interface, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera. I think the 4P works like this. So you see there's like a 1X on the side of the screen there. That will go to 2X, 3X, 6X, and 12X. I think that's what that button does, I think. And come at me in the comments if I'm wrong. I think that's the one that the 4P does. It just jumps to those zoom links. But the zoom rocker will go, you can go to 6.7, 4.8.
And you can do it smoothly, which is why you would want a zoom. Usually, you'd want to be able to zoom, not just... So then it makes me think, did they utilize their old software on the Pocket 3, and now you have to pick between joystick or using the joystick as a zoom, like you were talking about on the on the 3, which I hate using. I have to jump between either a zoom or a joystick, and I never quite know which one I'm on. It's the zoom rocker makes way more sense.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and it goes back to our original conversation of when is a camera, and when is it copying? Because it's like, I mean, this could go on for years, and you and I are not patent lawyers, but I'm like, there's a lot of differences in this camera, and I think the problem is DJI just got caught.
Yep.
And fortunately, they probably have somebody embedded over at Insta, and they're copying all the designs right now, and they'll make one. It'll be the 5P, and it'll do all these things.
So that will lead me to my two corrections, which which is exactly why I didn't buy these. Didn't buy the Insta, didn't buy the DJI. But here's my 2 things. 1, here's the 3.
Yep.
This is not native vertical. Turn your whole thing. The screen doesn't rotate to now be a vertical screen. The joysticks don't work the same way. Stop telling me this is native vertical, because this is a cop-out. And to my understanding, the Insta and the 4 and the 4P, you can turn the whole gimbal and run around like this, and then you have weird axis issues. That's not native. So to me, that's my first thing. Is I heard it in the 3 though. When the 3 came out and it was slightly better than the 2, they didn't have vertical, and they said, but that's for sure, like, that's the next iteration. You've got to have that on the 4. We don't.
Let me ask you Let me ask you this, though, before you go to your second one. And I know that, and I know that's a thing. And I know that's especially a thing for you. And we've talked about this on your channel. My only question is to that. You're clearly not using vertical on television or a movie. So what's the true resolution you need for vertical? Because 4K is not a deliverable vertical.
It can be. It absolutely can be, and they're pushing more for that. To me, it's not. So if I'm using this as a BTS camera for the most part, and if anything that's larger client, it's going to go on the cinema camera or it's going to go on a mirrorless camera. So if I'm buying this to be a BTS, straight to the great thing about both of these, the DJI or the Insta360, you pull the files to the app goes straight to Instagram, and I'm done. I really don't even have to touch my computer. So if I'm doing that, cropping it, having a 2x crop, that's a pain.
Okay, and it's not, so that was my question, because the vertical on this is 3K.
Right. But you lose your perspective of, like, take that out and, just turn the camera sideways, film for 2 minutes like that, and then turn the camera like this and film at that 3x crop. You just lose a little bit of what makes that lens the lens. Okay,
all right. That's the part I was not, and that's probably an issue. The one thing, because that was the other thing that I think Camera Conspiracy, I didn't even know it did it. One of the firmware updates allows for what they're calling their open gate, but it's not. It's a 3K square.
It's a 1x1, right? So it's not the sensor. You're actually cropping the sensor to get to 1x1.
Yeah, and it's 3K, which is pretty good. But yeah, you're still cropping, and so you're still losing. To your point, you're losing stuff. So that's a valid point. All right, number 2. What's your other thing?
And to me, in terms of the 3K crop, the Pocket 3 has a 3K crop into vertical. So I might be gaining a telephoto lens, but I actually didn't gain any resolution or any functionality going from the 3 to the 4 in any of these capacities. I just have to buy a new camera. So that's one. The second one that I thought of as you were talking, which I've seen the Ronin do, which is super cool, is if they could figure out a way to make that, and I don't even know if they can, but that detachable screen into kind of a gyroscopic controller. Have you seen the guys that'll control the Ronin by just like holding it like this, and they'll do this and it'll pan, and they'll do this?
Wait. Have you not seen this? Because they might be able to do it. They have a head controller.
I did see that. So you could do that, right, with the head controller.
Right. So theoretically, that's a possibility. But head
as you were talking about, because I'm with you, even the great gimbals, the joystick control is not great. It's not a good experience. But if you could gyroscopically be able to either rotate the screen or your phone or even that head piece, how cool. That would be awesome.
That head controller is interesting, especially from the use case. If you wanted to mount it on like a shoulder, like a backpack mount, and have it just sitting here, and then you're doing your thing. Like, that's pretty cool for a BTS thing. And you know what? I'm going to go back to you a little bit. If you're using it for BTS, are you talking about talking to camera, or you're just setting it up on BTS?
What I've used, and I love this thing for it, is if I'm at a shoot, if I say I'm a photographer for the day, I'm doing a photo shoot. I've got a set. I've got a couple of crew. I will set that up onto it, like the DJI Pocket 3, up onto a stand. I'll have it auto track. It'll follow me around the set for the day, and that's my BTS. So it's me working behind the scenes.
This is me being devil's advocate then, because I love you, brother. But I'm like, if it's 10 or 20 feet away from you, you're getting plenty of view of this room. So the crop, how much does it matter then? I'm just curious. I'm just pushing.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Sometimes, like that's one use case that I've found, but also I've had to work that way because it doesn't have native vertical.
Okay.
I've also I've chosen to use the camera, like say I'm doing a little cut in for one of my Instagram shorts. I've chosen intentionally not to use the DJI and just pick up my phone and shoot it like this, because natively that's vertical, and the Insta360 or the DJI, my Pocket 3, has a crop. So like to use the vertical a little bit more if I could utilize the full lens, not just the crop.
Understood. Okay. Because I just used the vertical on the Pocket 3 for a commercial because they wanted it to look like a cell phone. And so, but I had it mounted, and then I had my actress kind of holding a magic arm. So it was just added a little bit of length. So I was cheating, but that's how I got it to look like a cell phone, because now she was probably an extra foot farther from the camera than she would have been if she was holding the camera. So I got all the background that I needed for it.
You got it back. But again, like if you had just been able to turn the camera,
yes, you're right.
you would have had a lot more, and then she literally would have been able to hold this like a camera, and it would have, and your depth would have not looked funky. You wouldn't have had to cheat it, and you wouldn't end up with a crop. You could have your true 4K resolution, and anytime, I mean, if you can shoot in 4K and deliver in 1080, it's going to be a sharper image. When you start cropping in on your sensor, you're going to lose that detail.
Yeah, fair enough. Was there a second item? I cut you off. I don't know. I got it like... So.
Nope, my 2 was the gyro, which you said, and then the vertical, which they can't do. I would assume they can't do it in firmware, or they would have done it physically with the camera.
Yeah, I think the nature of the sensor is it's not going to happen. You know, it's not. Yeah. That's the wild thing about the sensor and the Action 6 that I love. Like that, I love that. It's 3840 by 3840. I shoot in that almost exclusively, and I almost never use the vertical, but I like to know that I have it. So I just shoot wide.
And that's if you put in a square sensor like that. I guess you're still cropping, but you could like get away from it if you just have a circular, like a square sensor that just shoots a full 4K circle, and you just pick what part of the circle you want to be in.
Yeah,
that could be a solution if you don't want to turn the actual camera, the actual sensor. But it's funny though. You've made a point all along. It's funny that the camera doesn't that it can't just be twisted in that vertical position. Like that's not an option. I don't understand why. You mean like actually rotate? Yeah, I mean that's.
Why can't that just? Why can't the camera? Why can't you say I want this in portrait and it just stays in vertical?
DJI or Insta360 was watching this, I would love a comment to understand why. That's what I said on my initial review of it. I was like, if there's a reason why, tell me. But right now it just feels like you've done it on the Mavic. You just didn't do it. So are you just trying to sell the 5? Are you trying to sell the next one?
Probably.
But like,
they're being like,
but it should have been in this one. Yeah, but it should have been in this one.
Well, who knows? Maybe they're going to try to leapfrog by making it in the 4P. I mean, it hasn't come out yet. We don't have it.
I've just seen enough of the leaked videos, especially how the camera is kind of set up.
Yeah, it's funky. Yeah.
If you rotated that camera 90 degrees, now you've got some weighting issues. Like the beautiful part about I know my Mavic does it, and I also know that my, Mini 3 Pro does it. It's basically counterweighted the same whichever orientation you're in. So that would be, to me, you'd have to build that in. Maybe it's just a size thing. They can't get it in that small of a gimbal form factor, but I don't know. They fit it into drones, so should.
Unlike the way that one's designed, this one should be able to do it because it's not going to have a weight problem when it's vertical. It theoretically would be less stress on the motors vertically than horizontal because it's so wide. So because that one is funky shaped, it's like heavy looking on the bottom. Yeah, which probably helps the gimbal operation.
That was my only thing, was I was looking at that, and one person, when I had made that comment, said, no, if you look at the videos, it does do vertical, but I think it's only in that locked position. You're looking at videos, or you're looking at photos of people holding it in the locked position, and it looks like it's turned sideways. I've not seen anybody actually confirm, use, shoot, hold while in operation, anything that would... And I'd love to be wrong. I will go buy the extra version or the DJ. Like, I'd love to be wrong on that, but I think we are stuck horizontal only or digitally cropping it.
Yeah. I will tell you, the other thing I do love about these little gimbals versus my big gimbal, my Ronin, is how quickly I can shoot underslung. That is just a matter of holding it upside down, it figures it out, and everything's right. Man, when I have to do that on my other one, it's like a whole rigmarole and changing the handle positions, and I don't even bother. But to be able to shoot low to the ground, it's a breeze with these.
Yeah.
Much easier to play with.
I think the way they figure, I mean, when you can make something that light, switching modes is a lot less stress on the motor than a full Ronin with a full 5 or 6 pound package on it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that's, again, another reason why I'm just like telling my customers, and it's fun because we're at this, at least in my market, no one's really seen these cameras. So they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And it's like, yes, it is. Now let's go. I've not had anybody go like, is that even a real camera? I've never had that. They look at it like, that is incredible. And I'm like, yep, let's shoot. So I'm in the market that I'm in.
Now, last question I have for you, because it was in my comment section. Do you think GoPro is laughing at this lawsuit? Are they going to come out with a handheld gimbal camera?
Oh gosh, that's been nowhere on the radar whatsoever. Like, they've been this has been something that's been talked about for some. I think if they had if the ILS has taught us anything, if they had one, they'd be telling us about it and taking pre-orders.
They would be taking pre-orders.
Yeah, I don't think that's even in the playing right now. I think I hate to say it, I think GoPro's in real trouble. I don't know. I
think I agree with you, and my response to those comments has just been, I think it is antithetical to their marketing strategy, right? They've built their Hero and now the Mission line on our EIS, our electronic image stabilization, is so good. You can ditch the gimbal. You don't need the gimbal. That's
a point. I mean, that's been a thing where I'm never cease to be amazed at how good the digital stabilization is on my 6. When I'm walking and doing a walk and talk, I'm like, this is outrageous. Like, I don't have to ninja walk. I still have to ninja walk with one of these. And the 6, you kind of just go. And
that's where I just think, I mean, GoPro's been known to like shoot off their own foot sometimes, but I think that they've just pushed so hard in the EIS world that a gimbal would be confusing.
They had one for a minute too. No, you bought like an external gimbal to put your GoPro on.
They had one and it like slid into the Karma drone.
Yeah. That was the weirdest decision. That was such a bad decision. I still laugh at that one. What did that last? Like 6 months before they pulled that from the market?
Man, it was a weird world to be alive in.
Which now we're deviating, but I am fascinated. I haven't tried. Do you fly drone?
I do. Yeah. I've got a couple back
Have you
here
flown one of these 360 drones?
Like the anti-gravity one?
Yeah.
That's like partnered with Insta360? No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm so interested in it. I think it would be so cool.
I'm fascinated by it from the perspective of now all you have to worry about is flying. Just fly. I am not. Brent is a phenomenal drone operator. We just did a shot at a greenhouse, and he's just whipping through the plants and up and around and indoors, and I'm like, this is so cool. The client is thrilled with the footage. And I'm like, I would never do that. I get nervous flying. Like I have, like
I do too.
Like my native fear of heights kicks in for some reason, and I'm just like, I'm gonna crash. So the idea of not having to worry about the camera part and just fly is very compelling. I find that very interesting. The weirdest
thing to me is that drone only goes forward. Like it doesn't have to go backwards. It doesn't have to go side to side. Like that's the weirdest thing.
That is
when
weird.
I was watching reviews, is like they only have front collision sensors, but that's all you need because it'll only ever go forward. You just might look to the side, but it's only going forward, which I just think is a weird way to compute a drone in my head, just because I'm so used to these GPS drones that we've all kind of learned.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing, and that was the thing, learning to do shots and work with a 360 camera creatively, as opposed to, like, I'm not someone who just like pops it up to capture I'm trying to use it in a creative environment. And yeah, you have to think completely different about you don't frame up a shot. It's just like, where do you want it to go is all that matters. And I guess that same logic would apply to the drone then.
Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting, I need to get my hands on one and fly one because they look so interesting to fly.
The footage looks incredible. Yeah, people flying those. Well, I think we've exhausted this topic. But we're going to talk about it.
We can talk more about it on Thursday.
We're going to talk about more on Thursday as I get more research in on my camera. But
I'm excited excited to see more, and definitely like link down below. We'll talk about it on Thursday. But I want to see your review when you get done with it because it's a cool piece of kit that you got.
It'll be more than one review. I have decided. I want to do just an initial feeling, but then I want to try to be like, okay, now I want to try a cinematic version. Now I want to try an application for customer. Like I want to try multiple reviews, but I'll get what I can for my homework teach by Thursday. And hopefully I'll get that cable in, and we'll have the answer to that other question for you. So guys, tune in to Colton's show on Thursday at 2:30. I'll link his show below in the description here. And Colton, thanks as always for joining me, and we'll see you guys next time.